Lately, there's been a lot of hype around a specific horror movie that is in theaters right now called Longlegs. Nicolas Cage plays the antagonist in it. There's all of these ads for it everywhere. Everybody's talking about Longlegs. And for a few reasons, but mostly because of the marketing. Everybody is talking about how good the marketing for this movie is. I saw this movie on Friday night, and I want to tell you about why it's so interesting to me, because the discourse around this whole film is just like fun to talk about. But I want to start from the beginning and talk about why I was drawn into it, and that is because of one of the teasers that was put out for this movie. Every time I went on Reddit, I saw this teaser, and I'm not gonna lie, the marketing worked on me. It got me interested. Now, this trailer was supposed to be this very like unsettling look of the movie, and it basically says the first time the actress saw Nicolas Cage dressed up as Longlegs. The Longlegs is the antagonist of the movie, and a big reason why the movie is so popular and what the marketing is pushing forward is that Nicolas Cage plays this serial killer, and it's so scary and unsettling, and everybody is so freaked out when they see this guy's face. Now, the movie actually lends itself to this suspense. Like, the first half of the movie, you don't really get a clear look at Nicolas Cage's face. Nicolas Cage's face with the bravest waist. So this trailer comes in all eerie. First time Micah Monroe saw Nicolas Cage's Longlegs was in the following scene. Now, this is one of those movie things where the actor is like, I don't want to talk to the Joker before I'm shooting the scene with the Joker so I can really be scared for the first time. There he is behind there. What? Oh, what's he going to look like? And then they say what you're about to hear is her actual heartbeat. And they basically, this is where I start to go, I don't know, is they start playing this scene, which is from the movie, and they're playing a heartbeat, and they're telling us that what we're watching right now is her real life heartbeat as the scene is going on. And so I guess the premise of the trailer is like, she was actually scared. The suspense of not knowing what he was going to look like freaked her out. But I'm like, they don't have a heart rate monitor on the actor while they're filming the movie. Unless there's something I don't know about. Maybe there's an article out there that talks about how, oh, we really hooked up their heartbeat because we wanted to put it into the movie. I don't know. I'm not seeing any articles about a heart rate monitor. Oh God, she's coming into the room for the first time to see Longlegs. Oh God, what's gonna happen? I don't want to get copyrighted, so I'm gonna be careful about showing clips, but I'm gonna give you the idea. What's he gonna look like? What's he gonna look like? Oh. And so as you can see in the teaser, they don't show his face. Okay, so they keep it hidden, which gives the viewers the idea that whatever his face looks like is really gonna freak you out. This guy is freaky looking. Micah's resting heart rate is 76 BPM. In this scene, it hit 170 BPM. And the actress says, when I walked in and saw Nicolas Cage for the first time as Longlegs, that was a visceral experience I'll never forget. And so that was a pretty strong sell for me to see this movie. The fact that even in the promo material, they're not even showing the guy's face. And if you watch the actual trailers, not only do they keep it very secretive what he looks like, but the way the trailer is edited is out to make it a very disturbing movie. Even the quotes they use in the marketing say stuff like 5 stars, masterpiece, masterpiece. And this is the big one that I feel like has been kind of the slogan for the marketing of the movie, is the scariest film of the decade. The best serial killer horror film since The Silence of the Lambs, which was kind of the main inspiration for this movie. It's very inspired by Silence of the Lambs. And so this was a lot of the discourse behind the movie, was wondering if it's as scary as they're making it out to be. And I mean, 1 month out from the movie coming out, they posted a poster, and I found these Reddit comments that basically say, showing only the tiniest slivers of Cage in the promo material has been genius. I just know the face reveal is going to be crazy. And then someone else says, someone wrote in another thread that a woman started crying in their screening when his face was revealed. Now, this is pretty strong language. about this movie. I'm like, what am I about to see if I go watch this thing? It seems like it's going to be terrifying. Now, I'm a huge movie guy when it comes to talking about movies with other people. It's like one of my favorite things to do. But actually watching the movies is my biggest problem. I think I've logged like 3 movies that I've seen this year on Letterboxd. The last movie I saw before Longlegs was Dune Part 2, which was great. And I love the discourse around movies and the conversations people have around them and how polarizing they can be, but I'm really bad at focusing on them myself. Dev and I are both very into horror movies. We love Hereditary. We love Talk to Me if we're talking about a lot more of the modern horror movies in the past few years. There have been some pretty scary ones, but the last time I saw this much discourse around a movie being as scary as it is was probably back in Hereditary days, back in the Hereditary days. And because there was so much talk about the movie being as scary as it is, it led to maybe some of the opinions on the movie becoming worse because of that, because there were a lot of people who came out of it being like, oh, that wasn't scary, what was so scary about that? But back when it came out, I was way too scared. I was not good at watching horror movies. They freaked me out so much. And back when Hereditary came out, there was no way you could get me to watch it. I would not. And finally, a few years later, I watched it and I began to watch more horror movies. And I realized that so much of my fear was from the trailers and the things that you hear about the movies. That's really the scariest part. But a lot of times when you go to see the movie, it's not as scary as the trailer makes it out to be. And Longlegs has a very scary trailer, and a lot of the shots look scary, but we have to wait and see if that's actually how it plays out, and see how the marketing plays into how I ended up feeling about the movie. All that to say that modern horror movies don't have the best rep. I think the hit rate of horror movies is one of the worst in terms of genres for movies. It's pretty hard to get very quality horror movies the way that we get very quality dramas, for example. I guess. I don't know. I'm not a movie guy. But let's talk about how the movie actually was. I went to the Look Cinemas in Glendale, California to watch this movie and also have a bite to eat, because it's one of those movie theaters where you can order food and there's a little tray. And I like that. I think that added to the experience. We were trying to go see the movie at a theater called iPic Theaters, which is in Pasadena. Look, if you want to go see Longlegs at this theater, they actually have these chaise lounges. Oh, I think these are chaise lounges. Imagine watching a movie in one of these. Come on. But they didn't have space, so we went to... I don't know why I'm explaining this. Now, ever since I got into watching more horror movies and they didn't freak me out as much, it's become harder and harder for me to find a movie that really rocks me to my core. And a lot of times, once I leave the theater, honestly, not that scared anymore. I mean, you could say I'm trying to be a tough guy. I'm trying to impress you guys. I'm just telling you how I feel. I'm not an easy nut to crack. For my film buffs out there, I'm going to start with the less spoilery stuff, and I'll make sure that I warn you before I say anything that might ruin the film if you still want to go see it. Now, to kind of connect this to something I was saying before, for the first half of the movie, Nicolas Cage's face is pretty obscured every time it's on screen. The first time he's on screen, the way they have the shot matched up is he's standing. This is like literally the first scene of the movie, so I don't think it's a spoiler, but I'm still gonna just like warn you. Whatever. He's standing like this and he's like talking to the little kid, and it's Nicolas Cage. He bends down and you get like a frame of his face before it cuts to the title screen. So he's like this. Blah 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 blah. But you don't get to see enough of his face, and so it leaves you... It was a very impactful first scene, and it led me to feel like I was really going to enjoy the movie. And honestly, I will say, my opinion is the first 2 acts of this movie, I like a lot. I thought the pacing was fantastic. I felt like it just kept moving and didn't allow things to ever really sit still. The cinematography was the thing that I feel like helped the film the most, because it really assisted to the tone they were trying to set with this uneasy feeling of eeriness. A lot of the shots were very wide and they left a lot of empty space where the viewer would kind of trick themselves into wanting to look around the screen, trying to find things in the shot or find people walking up behind the character or in the background. There was always a feeling of being watched or a feeling of someone being nearby, and you couldn't really relax even in scenes where Longlegs wasn't around because you didn't know if he was lurking nearby. Ooh. Now, there's not a lot of characters in this movie, but I thought the acting for the most part was pretty good. The lead actress, Micah Monroe, was great. She's been in other horror movies in the past, and I've always liked her in those movies. I think it's Watcher and It Follows. But I think that the best thing the movie did was keeping you on your toes about who Longlegs was and what he looked like and when you were finally going to be able to see him. Now, I feel like the best part about Longlegs was not knowing what he looked like. And when they finally did reveal him, not only did it not have as big of an impact as I wanted it to have, but it also made me realize that the scary part about Longlegs is the fact that you don't know what he looks like. And once you do know what he looks like, things become a lot less immersive, I guess. You're not on the edge of your seat in the same way that you were before the movie happened and before the scenes happened where they kind of fully showed what he looked like and who he is. And it's hard that the marketing for media in general will have an effect on the way that you end up consuming that media, right? People want to go into movies without any expectations, no trailers. I don't want to know the Rotten Tomatoes score. That's usually how I am. If there's a movie I'm looking forward to and I know I'm going to see it anyway, I don't want to see a single thing about the movie. But Longlegs was a movie that I did not want to go see right away until I started seeing everyone talk about it. And the fact that in the main teaser for their movie, they've just got a big black box over the guy's face. They're not obscuring it in some like aesthetic way to, you know, make the trailer feel really eerie. They're like literally showing the scene and putting a black box over his face because they know that that's the moment you're waiting for in the movie. Okay, I think I'm going to talk about what I think about how he looked and how the whole face reveal went. So if this is too many spoilers, I'm sorry I didn't say a lot, but I'm trying to figure out how to talk about it. So the way that they revealed Nicolas Cage's face was not how I thought they were going to do it in the movie. I thought they were going to do it by showing this scene and having this interaction between Micah and Longlegs be the first time they see each other on camera. And I think it's the first time that she sees him in the movie, but it's not the first time that you see Longlegs. And it's probably debatable when the first time you actually see him is, because they don't do like one hard cut like jump scare of the face. They kind of slowly show it. Like they'll show it from a farther distance, and then there's a scene where he like goes into a goddamn 7-Eleven or something, and he goes up to the little girl at the cash register and he's like, peekaboo, peekaboo, I'm so scary. And you like kind of see part of his face, but he's also kind of covering it. In this movie, Nicolas Cage is wearing a prosthetic that is mainly around his nose and eyes, and his face is very misshapen and it's like painted over white. Like, and the movie is like a sort of relatively low budget horror movie. And I think because of that, the prosthetics on Nicolas Cage's face did not come off to me as natural, but it felt like someone with a bunch of makeup and prosthetics on, if that makes sense. And I don't think that's just because like the prosthetics weren't good enough or that it was too low budget. I also think that is because Nicolas Cage was casted as the main antagonist. And there's something about casting one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood as the guy in your movie who has a huge face reveal where when you watch him act as the character, I'm not seeing some scary serial killer. I feel like I'm just seeing Nicolas Cage in prosthetics. And even though I think Nicolas Cage did a good job performing in this movie, and I think he did a good job with what he had, I think overall the fact that they picked Nicolas Cage and they put such emphasis on his face. I think the marketing did a great job of emphasizing the mystery behind who Longlegs is, but it became such a big discourse that people are going to be let down either way. But the question is whether or not that's valid and whether or not it should have been a letdown, I guess. My personal feelings on it are that it didn't really look awful enough to write the movie off, but I think because I knew who was under it, I was kind of losing some of that immersion, and I didn't feel like as struck by fear as I feel like I should have when he finally did show up in the movie. People magazine says that the result is one of cinema's most grotesque and anxiety-inducing villains in recent memory, and I think most grotesque is a huge overstatement. Now, before I continue to complain about this movie, I liked the movie. I gave it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd, but I want to emphasize that there was a lot that I enjoyed about the movie, especially in the first 2 acts. There were a lot of parts that kept me on the edge of my seat. I do feel like it did a lot of things right. The style of it was really great. The tone was handled well. I think that they leaned a lot on the mystery of what he was going to look like, and also leaned a lot on just how scary the movie was in general, that I went in expecting something more impactful than what I got. I think in terms of horror movies, this movie was made with so much more care than 90-95% of modern horror movies that are coming out now. I feel like it wasn't just a slap together, Silence of the Lambs inspired horror horror movie, horror movie. But leading into the third act, I think this movie needed to separate itself from other serial killer horror movies and do something different. And to the film's credit, it did do something different. And finally, I think what left me complaining about this movie more than praising it is the third act in general. I feel like the way that they explained the way that the serial killings were happening was not a satisfying explanation. Although it was different, it did not leave me surprised or shocked at all. It just kind of left me going, huh, so that's it. And so I do think Longlegs is one of the better modern horror movies in recent memory, but they just do so many things from the beginning to the end that slowly make me like it less and less. And I feel like its best moments were in the first act when there was a lot more that was unknown. There are some good scares in the movie. There's also a few cheap shots in terms of like jump scares and stuff that just like, shots where it just changes to something that isn't that freaky, and then they put a huge loud noise to make it really scary. There are certain things like that kind of made me roll my eyes. But overall, I still felt like it was good, right? Like, I still felt like it was good. I don't think I'd say scariest of the decade. I mean, I would definitely say like Hereditary and Talk to Me are both movies that scared me a lot more than Longlegs. The last Nicolas Cage movie I watched was Dream Scenario, which was another movie that the trailer was so interesting to me. But I walked out of the movie and I was like, was this the most forgettable movie I've ever seen? Like, I can't tell you a single thing that happened in Dream Scenario. And I'm not just a hater, okay? I don't just hate movies. I like a lot of movies, okay? So I'm not trying to just hate on something that everyone's talking about. Personally, I think if you're interested in seeing Longlegs, you should still see it, because I think you will have a lot to say about it. And maybe after watching this video, your expectations will be lowered, so then when you see the movie, you're going to really like it. Anyways, do I have anything else to say? I know I made a video a couple weeks ago and I was like, oh guys, I'm so scared of posting, but I'm going to start posting on this channel like all the time and make videos about stuff I care about. And then I posted a video last week and I freaked out again. And I was like, I can't post videos anymore. And so I wanted to make more and I want to keep doing more, but I'm still struggling a lot. And I think it might take a little bit, but I am continuing to push forward. I want to start posting stuff on the Green Is Not Nick channel again and just take a step away. Just create things, put them out there, take a step away. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for all of the very kind words on that video and on the most recent one with the crumble cookies. I still have a lot of fears in my content with just being able to start talking about something in front of a camera. And it was really hard for me to start this video, but luckily once I started doing it, I felt a lot better about it and have been continuing to get better at doing this again. And I know that I'm not the person that people should be feeling sorry for. Like, I don't think people should be worried that I am having an issue dealing with my own life. But for the people that are still interested in what's going on, it does mean a lot to me because there's still so much I'm figuring out about whether or not this will be something that is a part of my life still. And I want YouTube to be a part of my life still, and I'm fighting for it to be. But it might still take some time to fully get there again. But anyways, thank you. I appreciate you. And if you watched this video and you have no idea what I'm talking about, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to post more He Said Us stuff. Let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about that you think might be interesting in the comments below. I will read the comments and hopefully chat with some people down there. That's the video. I will see you next time. Goodbye.